an e-module approach was very, very crucial. And that required validation by the top organizations for it to be meaningful. So that's what we did. We took those 5 major areas, we extracted a couple of modules that needed to be made in the e-module form, involve the top organizations, involve the experts, the subject matter experts from the top organizations to make those modules, to launch them. After really having given it a great deal of thought, we decided that the area of apprenticeship really was the best way to go about skilling people, giving them the requisite practical exposure, and something that when we are looking at about 3 years ago, was at a very, very low or nascent level, despite Apprenticeship Act being there. I must say that since then, we've had fantastic success, and some 25,000 plus apprenticeship contracts have been triggered, over 500 organizations onboarded across the 20 major job roles in this sector. Importantly, the 2 or 3 things that really brought about this success, I think that is relevant to share, are: number one, identifying and realizing that this must start from the biggest organizations who have the requisite resources, both in terms of quality of manpower to mentor and skill people, and indeed the equipment required for skilling people. So knocking over the top 5 or 10 organizations and bringing them in the fold was of great importance. Today, I'm happy to state that not just the top 5 who incidentally are on our governing council, but the top 30 pharma companies are amongst the 500 which are involved in apprenticeship. Number one. Number two is that it required not just group contact and Zoom sessions, and all of which, of course, we did, and webinars and seminars, but working individually with these organizations, because it has to be a top-down and bottoms-up approach, both, because apprenticeship must be accepted right through the rank and file of the organization for it to be successful. Otherwise, it will not flow. So we've had to work from the top downwards and bottom upwards, and that's how this has occurred. Coming to upskilling, our experience on this, when the Honorable Prime Minister said that upskilling and reskilling are important, was to do 3 things. One was the gap analysis. Where is it that maximum requirement is there? And that a considerable amount of time had to be spent on that. How we went about it was, we went into the US FDA audits conducted on the Indian organizations and where the major lacunae were, and we found that principally 85% of the areas were in 5 major buckets. So we said those are the buckets that we are going to be focusing on. Number one. Number two is, we found that for upskilling, organizations are not going to be able to free up people, particularly with this pandemic, etc., where they're going all full out. They can only do it in free time, which means evening or over the weekends, etc. So an e-module approach was very, very crucial. And that required validation by the top organizations for it to be meaningful. So that's what we did. We took those 5 major areas, we extracted a couple of modules that needed to be made in the e-module form, involve the top organizations, involve the experts, the subject matter experts from the top organizations to make those modules, to launch them. And the final thing was, the third of the 3 was value validation. Those that underwent this, the organizations, the mentors, the people who underwent the programs, getting their views on how they had performed vis-a-vis those who had not done that earlier. And it's still in the early stages, but once that value add started to come through, we found that this thing sort of started to gain ground. So one of the modules that we've launched, for example, has now had now hundreds of workers. It's the machine operator's job role. The organization's taking to it and utilizing it. So these are the two things that I wanted to sort of highlight.